I hate you.
Was that Harry's response?
Oh,
no pressure.
Yeah.
So, obviously we know that this is going to be the final season, which is really sad, but with a show like this that has so much going on, like what was just your guys' reaction to saying, we're going to wrap this up, and then just trying to find a way to start wrapping these characters up, because they have so much going on in them, I feel like this could go for another 4 seasons after this.
yes. It could have gone on and on and on, and I think that their decision was made because I felt that this story needed, as the comics do, to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and to wrap it up. And I think that's what the fans, because the comic book has such a definitive ending, and I think that without the knowledge of that, you don't know where it could go. It could just carry on and on. We've only sort of touched on.
Yeah, but you don't want people to go, "Oh my God, find God already, will you?" Like you don't want to like bore people to death. So.
And that had become our main. That was the story that they'd chosen, and they were yeah, it's really rude to bring it back. That was the main purpose of our story, wasn't it? That's what they decided when they were creating this particular show, and I think that they did what the people who loved those comic books originally in the 90s would want. But it was very sad getting the news, and we've come to love doing it. It's become part of our lives.
Well, and I think we're still all kind of mourning. We just wrapped like 3 weeks ago, so I think we're all sort of still working through the fact that we're not going to show up and do scene work together again or hang out. And
That's the thing.
yeah, I mean, I love showing up on the show to do the work every day. Everybody on the show really ups each other's game and challenges each other to be better. I never want to let any of my scene partners on our show down. It's such a high level of work going on that I'm really sad that I'm not going to show up and work with one of these guys tomorrow.
The story of Preacher was, before we went into production, was already established for the most part. And so it wasn't creating the story, it was creating the moments that made the story that was really stimulating for us, and that's the thing that we fed on while we were there. But during the 4th season, the tension and the stakes just ratcheted up more and more and more and more and more, and being able to bring that to a conclusion is really satisfying as well as plangent.
Plangent? Is that what your word of the day, calendar?
Google it. God has a vocabulary.
Hi, the relocation to Australia is obviously a big thing going this season. How has that impacted on sort of production? How has it impacted on day-to-day in this season?
Shorter hours.
Yeah, shorter hours. We work ourselves to death in America, for the record.
It's always been, I think, a massive part of, even, I think, looking back over the comics, again, the landscape was a huge part of it, the graphic, how it was drawn, and the influence it had on the characters and where those characters were from was a huge part. And I think that they decided not only that the landscape and the beauty of the Australian outback would be necessary, and give it the vastness and the cinematic feel that Preacher deserved after this amount of time. And we found a landscape which had both an urban aspect to it and the rural, and I think also there's nowhere like it. In fact, Albuquerque was beautiful at night as well in terms of the light and the landscape, but this was particularly different. But I think it was hard. We got very used to a crew that we'd worked with for a long time in New Orleans, who were wonderful and really got to know and understand what it did to make it such a show in such a short space of time. And I think that was difficult adapting to that. And being so far away from everything was also hard when you have a relationship with the writer's room, when you need answers quite quickly, and you're on a different time zone. But I think it's
day. It's a different day in Melbourne than it is here right now.
Yeah, we were a day ahead. But I think it's going to really add texture and nuance to the piece, massively.
We managed to make it look like Ireland as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was amazing, wasn't it? Who knew?
Was that? I didn't see any of that. Was that a build outside? Or was
it was outside, yeah.
Incredible what they built, and the studios there were magnificent. And really, we always forget this. I feel really embarrassed actually because we're just in our zone of learning. I should do. But you suddenly step inside one of these sets, And the elaborate work that's gone into them. We're in Masada for a lot of this season, and they've built this wonderful place that's built within the rocks, and the
You
intricate
could
detail.
get lost inside the Masada set on the soundstage, and I quite frequently did. I mean, it was
Every day I did,
It was
yeah.
epic, yeah. Because and it also the Masada set kept changing. They kept building onto it or shifting the rooms around. So I kept getting lost trying to go 10-100, which means going
The interior
down.
of Masada will astonish you.
Yeah, I mean the production values are off the hook this season.
They built a tank
Yes.
for one day's filming, which you'd normally use in the whole of a sort of a film,
Yeah.
for the run of a film. So no expense was spared, and I think the moment they knew that it was going to be the last, I think both in terms of the vision and how the extremes they went to, both in terms of the comic and how grotesque it became and how elaborate and how extreme, I think that they dared go as possibly far as they could, and they really did that.
They built the Alamo for a one-day shoot.
Incredible.
Keep waiting for someone to jump up here and arrest us. Right now.
For expropriating.
Yeah, for what we're telling right now. Okay. Yeah.
So we saw.
No, it's in the story.
We saw Tulip deny God's request about Jesse. So why do you think Tulip did? Also, what is God going to do?
What was the beginning of your question?
We saw Tulip deny God's request about Jesse. What is God going to do about it? Why do you think Tulip denied it?
I still didn't understand what you said. What did he say?
Deny-
Why did Tulip deny
God's
what God told her
request.
to do? And
Sorry.
yes.
What is God? Sorry, I'm really behind. I mean, I haven't watched it. What was it?
I'm trying to
Yeah, I
think
think
back
that's-
and remember.
What do you remember? What it was?
When he asked her, saved her to get him to stop looking for him.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. God
Someone's
is.
watched it.
God is. No. Now I understand. Sorry. Without getting terribly specific, I can say that God is manipulating everybody, and He's to this very day, He's manipulating everybody for His own purposes, because He wants them to either succeed at what they're doing or think that they're going to succeed and will fail at what they're doing, which will allow something else to happen. He's created this spider web. And as the episodes go by of the fourth season, you'll see the effect of this spider web. And God has very specific intentions with Tulip, but they're all wrapped up in His knowledge of her nature. And this is referred to in season 3 as well as in season 4, that he keeps calling her on her nature. And so He sort of knows what she's going to do in response to His request. The wild card in this is free will. And even God can't control free will.
So my question, I'm over here. My question is, what would you pick for your character's theme song, each of you? What, out of all of the music in the world, what song epitomizes your character to you? And also, since he's not here, what would you pick for Joe Gilgan?
Oh, well, Sex and Candy for Joe. I mean, I can answer that really easily. Featherstone sings what would be her theme songs. Oh, Onward Christian Soldiers is absolutely Featherstone's go-to. Yeah, that's absolutely on track. Nailed that.
God's favorite composer is Ornette Coleman. Freeform jazz, without necessarily any melodic line that you have to pledge allegiance to. Freeform jazz.
I always loved it. The
I'm done. Your thinking time is over.
Mine would be Voodoo Child, Jimi Hendrix.
Nice. always liked it when I saw the time of the preacher. Who's that by again? It was used in the first.
In the first
It's
season?
first in the pilot, actually. It's the image of when I first did the character walking up to the church when he first goes back to his father's church, and they played it over that. Who is it again? Was my brain gone dead?
If internet worked in here, we could
Just
find
time of the
out.
preacher. Who is it?
I think that
Oh, if I know, I can tell you.
sitting here watching a little wheel turn.
Who's that again?
Is it Willie Nelson?
Yes, isn't it? Time of preacher. Come on. Really
Oh, you're
famous.
taking that out of me.
Well, you know music. Maybe
I like the music question because music is
Yes,
it is a character in this series.
Yeah, I
I did
also
say
like use music a lot as a character to fill in device. Like, listen to it in the morning to kind of hook in. I usually pick some kind of song for my character as I'm going along. Sometimes it changes seasons. It's good. Good
She
question.
sings it before takes.
What?
Hums it. What was the song? What's your song again?
Do it now, do it now.
Yeah, do it now. Oh.
Come on, give us a blast.
Go stand up.
I haven't spoken to punish you.
It's very good.
Better
You see-
doesn't sing it like me. Better sings it down here.
Oh, yes.
I learned 4 verses of that song, by the way.
Dominic and Ruth, sorry to interrupt the musical conversation, but each one of you have had such an intriguing journey together and separately. Each one of your characters, what do you think was the hardest thing for your character to overcome?
Self-doubt. The idea that you can outrun what is your past. You don't have to sort of repeat the process. You can evolve and progress. I think that was difficult for her. I think that was like her insecurity that like people sort of cast her off as a failure, and that like that's what God uses against her, And I think that she rejects that notion, and I think I'm very proud of her for doing that.
I think Jesse finally, with the help of God, realises that he's been following something that has no end, and his guilt about his father and the blame on himself he releases at last. And he has a huge disappointment in what he discovers after this quest that's gone on for so long. But in fact, it finally makes him happy. We finally see a man content with who he is and where his life ends and what he's become, having been traumatized and found it very difficult to exist as he is, living in the guilt that he feels for the death of his father, I think. Super unhappy.
Funny.
Did I say something funny?
No.
Why were you laughing? What did I do? What did I say?
It's heavy matters in the comic world.
It was a really excellent answer.
You're
I'm not
lying.
even kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm not punishing you for saying right now.
I've eaten too much tuna fish.
As fans of the show, what do you guys miss the most about it?
Each other, probably.
Yeah, I'm going to miss showing up to work with each of these people and seeing them every day. For sure.
It's an incredible, so it's so weird because we have to repeat ourselves in front of one another, but it's been, I think, the thing that we will miss and the thing that we will notice as we go forward and get new jobs is that this job offers us as actors such a complex and different amount of what we do for a living in a short space of time. You can possibly in one day, and the speed with which we film this show, which is quite incredible, what they achieve, the crew and everyone else, but you can start a day by doing broad comedy and it being very funny and spend the day sort of fits of laughter. You can then have a very, very serious scene for things I was just talking about with my father, or talking about the father, or scenes I had with God. And then you go into doing then a really dramatic, excellently composed fight sequence. And that, you only get one of those, kind of a hint at one of those things in most jobs. And the fact that we've been blessed to get all of those in the space of a day and a season. And for 4 seasons, it's been magical. I think that will be hard pressed to find something that can offer that much to us and fulfill us as actors that much.
There's no boring shoot day on feature. Every day has a very specific set of challenges to it. And I'm in the challenge quite a lot.
Yeah, we laugh a lot. Like we have a lot of fun.
I know it doesn't seem.
So, which episode of the season should fans be looking for, like the biggest, oh my god, episode of this season?
Every single one of them is.
It's very hard to choose,
We come out of the gate really hot in the first 2 episodes. I mean, I feel like every episode is
Yeah,
explosive.
yeah.
It's a page turner.
Yeah, I really honestly
Starting on the
don't know
fourth.
how I would choose that.
There's so much going on. It's just unreal. This was the thing that I found so special. This is what I thought was incredible. What the writers did manage to do. It was they suddenly knew it was ending. I suppose just before at the end of the 3rd. But they'd introduced a lot of new characters already, and then they dared introduce more, so they have a lot to wrap up, and I think that must be very hard. You must get halfway through, or it must be easy to begin. Then you've got to work out how to wrap up each person's storyline. And it certainly felt this season, I think, more spread out in terms of, I didn't see you, really. Ever. And the reasons... I think they had to, and they did very well in making sure that there was nothing left unsewn up. Like there was no unfinished business. Every single, you understand the journey of each person and where they end up, and I think that must have been a very hard task.
The spider analogy is good. I mean, we were all on these paths, just kind of careening toward each other in the center all season, which sometimes I missed on. But like, I just feel like every episode, I feel like none of the episodes take a breath this season. Nothing settles down. Everything is just hardcore on a roller coaster.
Anybody who watches the 2-episode premiere on the 4th will have been injected with some highly addictive substance. And I'm sorry.
Sorry, will we be seeing the eye patch at all?
Taking that what you will.
Well,
maybe
Mark spent the day licking my eyeball. What does that mean?
We have time for one more question. With everything, the comedy, drama, the intense pace, how do you personally balance all of that with the acting, your personal life?
There is no personal life.
Not really.
TV doesn't afford one.
Shoot, you can get back at the end of the day and start over.
It's one of the things that makes working with a good group of people very important, because you lose a lot of your personal life. And so while all 150 people are on the same soundstage together, it needs to be a peaceful and cohesive and supportive environment. And we were blessed to have that.
Most definitely, and you do become a family of sorts, and you do become like it's collaborative, like when we're like working, and then but as like human beings, because I think we're really good at keeping each other's morale up, sort of. And we have a very like everyone, our cast is kind, very kind.
Yeah.
And there's like no duds.
No egos.
If you don't know duds, are you the dud?
Pardon? Oh, you
Not you.
Please tell me that you're the dud. Yeah. It really saddens me. it must be horrifying. And it happens a lot when people are working with people they don't like. And you must, it's such a, you have to be so generous. When you're doing this kind of work and you have scenes to do in such a tight space of time, you need the support of someone so much in all those scenes, and there hasn't been anyone who's full of ego. And that means the people at the top, the creators, the people who decide who's playing these characters, know the people they want in the show, and it's been so important.
Yeah, the kind of stuff we have on this, I showed up to set on a day I'm not working to check in on people that I haven't seen in a while, and that's happened for me. Like, you guys would come to check in with me if you haven't seen me this week or whatever. I think I've never been on a set like that, where the cast was very invested in making sure each other we're good and okay, and everything's all right. We're a very good, cohesive unit together. I think we're a really good family.
If you're watching something, film or TV, and there are 2 or 3 actors in the scene that don't like each other, you pretty much know it. You can tell. And when they do, you can see that too.
Yeah.
And you'll see that. You'll see that.